there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to Kit Conspiracy, which I am combining today with Mixed Media Mayhem and the Iron Crafter Challenge. The Iron Crafter Challenge is to use washi tape today, and in Mixed Media Mayhem we are supposed to be using corrugated paper and some sort of wet medium. So, along with washi. So I am using more of the cruise photos. I've got these photos of MK and I doing the Alpine slide in Haiti, and interestingly enough, we were there just about a week before they closed the island to cruise ships. I don't know that I don't know if maybe they've allowed a couple of them back during one period of time or not, but for the most part it's been closed since then. So yeah, we're really glad we were able to go, and we found this Alpine slide and thought it would be really fun to go and check out. I have done Alpine slides before, but she had not, so we decided to go ahead and, take a ride down the mountain and have a good time doing it. So I am tearing my corrugated paper. I have also kind of just followed one of the little water lines in the patterned paper to cut out the corner of my corner and some other pieces of the pattern paper. I know it's kind of like looks very random as to how I cut it out, but there was kind of a darker blue line that I followed. And I am at a retreat while I'm working on this, but I don't finish it at the retreat. I finish it at home, so you're going to see the desk background change. Yeah, so I wasn't really sure what I was going to be doing for my wet medium. I did end up using some texture paste through a stencil that was from Close to My Heart. If you saw earlier this week, or maybe, yeah, I think it was this week, that I used a stencil that had smaller tropical leaves on it. That's the one that I used. You can kind of see it here. And I am using some shimmers, I don't even know, inklings. It's shimmers inklings in Lover's Lips. To bring in some more of that pink color that is in the florals that are going to be in the bottom left-hand corner. Now, this warps my paper quite severely, and I thought, let me see how this does going through my ink machine to see if it'll flatten out a bit, mostly because it's a double page, and I wanted to try it and see. I've put a lot of mixed media papers through my ink machine and it works fine, but I didn't even think about the fact that there is texture paste on this. So this left-hand page, I run it through the ink machine, but the texture paste gets stuck in the ink machine. Well, it's not in the ink machine. It's got a little carrier sheet that you go put it through on, but I had another piece of paper in between the carrier sheet and my paper, because I have done this before where I've ruined the carrier sheet by having stuff kind of like get stuck to it, and I didn't want that to happen, so I put another piece of paper over it, and then the texture paste got stuck onto the additional piece of paper that I stuck on top of my mixed media so that it wouldn't get stuck on my carrier sheet. And that kind of basically ruined it. It was a calculated risk. I knew it could happen, and I wasn't really too worried about it. So I basically just pull out another piece of white paper and do some more mixed media on it. Although I don't have that stencil, it was MK's stencil, so there is not going to be any texture paste on my left-hand page when all is said and done. It will just have the shimmers inklings in Lover's Lips on it. I don't think it's a huge problem. It's not super noticeable anyway. The covers and the papers kind of cover up the majority of it, so I'm just gonna go with it. I am inking up my corrugated paper with some walnut stain, and then I inked up the blue papers with some salvaged patina distress oxide ink, and that's just going to give it a lot of definition in between the layers and help it to pop off the page. I am also distressing with my distress tool from MK's website, some assemblage required, and the link for that is down below. I am also going to have links down below for Mixed Media Mayhem and for the Iron Crafter series, so that you can go and check out everyone else who is playing along in both, and you can get lots of inspiration using washi tape or a combination of washi tape, corrugated paper, and some kind of wet medium. Sometimes we are very specific in Mixed Media Mayhem on what you need to use, and other times we like to open it up and say, you know, you pick. So this is one of those cases where you get to pick whatever kind of mixed media wet application you want to do. So it could have been any kind of ink, it could have been watercolor, could have been spray mist, could have been I don't know, alcohol ink. Yeah, the options are pretty endless. So anyway, I will put links to all of that down below, and then I just used my little R2 Clean to desktop vacuum to clean up all of that paper dandruff that was created by using my distress tool. And then I'm going to use liquid ink, liquid glue. I was going to say ink. Liquid glue. It's really early in the morning when I'm doing this, you guys. I don't function well in early mornings. But yeah, liquid glue to hold everything down, just because mixed media doesn't stick great to, you know, your tape runners. So liquid glue is really kind of the best option. These little foam squares, they do hold pretty well. I don't know how well that they would hold over the texture paste, but there's no texture paste in the area that I'm going to be putting them on, so I don't think that is going to be a big issue. And so I am just trying to account for the thickness of the corrugated paper, because I didn't really want a dip in the blue paper. Now you're going to see me do that on this right hand side. On the left hand side, I'm not going to use a bunch of foam dots on the bottom half of that blue paper, just because there is a lot more blue paper than there is of the corrugated paper, so I didn't feel like I needed to do that. You could see me just rolling that paper along the edge of my desk, kind of trying to flatten it out just a bit. There are some other ways of keeping your mixed media papers flat while you're working on them. One way is to tape down all of the edges and let it dry completely before you remove the tape, somewhat like you would see in a watercolor block of paper. At least two of the edges are always stuck down so that it doesn't curl or warp. So that does work very well. You can do that. Again, running it through the ink machine before you put the texture paste on works. Does not work with the texture paste, as I just learned, but it does work with just the watercolor or the shimmers, which is basically like a watercolor. It does work with that, so you can flatten it out that way. You could probably just take an old school iron to it if it bothers you. It did used to bother me in the early days of doing mixed media, but yeah, I've just kind of learned to live with it. It doesn't bother me at all anymore, except when I'm taking photos, and that was my main reason for trying to flatten it out some, because it's hard to take a nice rectangular or square photo, depending on if you're doing a 12 by 12 or a double page layout or some other size. It's hard to get an overhead shot that is nice and square. So I'm using my magnets to hold everything down and in place while my glue sets up, because again, that paper is a little bit wonky and not nice and flat. And so between the different layers of paper, the different thicknesses with the corrugated paper and the wonky paper, I decided to use my magnets on top of my glass mat, which works wonderfully. I really love how it ends up looking. Then I am going to go ahead and just trim everything down. Yeah, I'm liking how that's looking so far. I wasn't really sure how I was going to like it when I first cut everything apart. I had an idea in my mind, and sometimes, you know, you just got to keep going. And I think that's why I didn't finish it at the retreat. Well, that, you know, the gift of talking as well. I was just gabbing with some of the gals there and not actually focusing on what I was supposed to be doing, which is okay. You know, the talking is just as important. And so apparently I did not capture all of the embellishing on video, so here it is. I took some of the frames and some fiber and glued the fiber behind the frames, and then I created some clusters using the 49 and Market Sunburst collection. As you can see there, I did ink up a lot of the pieces with some Black Soot Distress ink. I used dimensional adhesive in the areas that needed it to prop things up behind the areas that have the fiber, because that's so dimensional, I couldn't stick things to the page. I also used some fiber through my tags and tied them off with some linen thread. My butterflies do have dimension behind the wings as well, so that they are not going to get crushed in my layout. And that is pretty much it. I just want to say thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to check out everyone playing along with Iron Crafter and Mixed Media Mayhem. I'll see you guys again tomorrow with another one. Take care and have a great day.